Today we continue with our class Hilchot Talmud Torah. We start with Sefer Shmiras Haloshon, and today's topic it is in our hands. The Talmud states in Yoma 9b, the second temple was destroyed because of sinas hinam, baseless hatred. To what Lashon Hara is a prime contributing factor. If this sin had the power to destroy the existing temple, surely it has the power to prevent the new temple from being built. That's a very strong statement. So if it was it was strong enough to destroy the temple, so for sure it can prevent the next temple from being rebuilt. Therefore, one who will strengthen himself regarding Shmiras Haloshon and will inspire others to do the same, will surely earn for himself inestimable merit. Meaning, in some sense, this person would be referred to as the one who has contributed to the building of the temple. The coming of Mashiach is literally in our hands. The Zohar Hadash states in Parashas Noach 23:3 that a single congregation can merit to bring about the final redemption by internalization of equality, of peace, in a desired way. It is impossible to merit, so it's a very strong statement. And some people say, yeah, that's enough, even if there is a peace in one congregation, it would be enough to bring Mashiach. So guess what? If you dig it deeply, so you understand. So because there is no Mashiach, and there is no peace even in one single congregation. So it always strives this group of people against this group of people. These people like Rabbi, these people do not like Rabbi, like Gabbai, do not like Gabbai, and stuff like that. So it's very interesting. But any congregation, any 10 Jews can actually bring the Mashiach, for sure. It is impossible to merit the quality of peace without first ridding ourselves of baseless hatred and Lashon Hara. Okay. Whoever will strive to rid himself of these sins will have the share in the building of the third temple. So peace comes from the first step is try to not to talk Lashon Hara. Okay. Were we to be granted the opportunity to build temple today, and all that were lacking was money, surely each one of us would come forth, contributed generously. Who would not want to share in the temple's construction? In truth, it is not money that is needed. Rather, that each of us must do is to uproot baseless hatred from within ourselves. That's a lot, right? Money is not an issue. I refrain from speaking Lashon Hara and acquire quality of peace. How exalted will be those who merit these accomplishments. For when Mashiach will appear and the temple will be built, it will become known that they played an important role in bringing this about. And Mashiach is going to name all of these people who helped rebuild the temple, then not speaking Lashon Hara by name. Okay, stop here. Alright, so we continue with Hilchot Talmud Torah, and we left off on chapter 5 and Halachah number 7. So let's see. A person is obligated to stand before his teacher from the time he sees him as far away as he can see him, until he passes beyond his field of vision and is hidden. His figure is no longer visible. Then the student may sit. A person is obligated to visit his teacher during the festivals. So as you see, it's a lot of information. So, okay, let's start from the beginning with commentaries. A lot of commentaries. HaShem. So it says a person is obligated to stand before his teacher from the time he sees him as far as he can see. So like, for example, if they're outside and he sees the teacher approaches, so he must stand up. Right? Until he see, until he passes. Okay, so until he see. Okay. So commentary. Contrast to the chapter 6, Halachah 5, so next chapter, which says that the person is not obligated to stand before the sage, who is not his teacher, until the latter comes within 4 cubits of him. So if it's just Talmid Chacham, not our primary teacher, so only when he is coming in like 8 feet, 7 to 8 feet to us, so we must stand. He moved, he passed by, so another 8 feet, so we can sit down. Okay. But for one's teacher, one must stand up as soon as he sees him, that doesn't matter how far away, and stand until the teacher disappears. Right? Until he passes beyond the field of his vision and is hidden. Unless, of course, teacher can send you can sit down. Of course, he can say that. And the figure no longer visible. Then the student may sit. So only that. So with this we show the proper respect to a teacher. The Halachah cited above say that as soon as the other sage passes him, the person may sit. The requirement to show extra degree of respect to one's own teacher can be derived from example of Rabbi Elazar, who showed such deference to his teacher. Rabbi Yonatan Yom Torah 53a. Okay. Right, so okay, that's the source. How do we know? Next sentence: a person is obligated to visit his teacher during the festival. Okay. So we visited our teacher, right? Our teacher. So we showed them respect. Like you can learn from him. Let's say you learn from the books now, right? You still have to remember that he gave you all of this knowledge. Okay, commentary. Sukkah 27b relates. An incident occurred concerning Rabbi Leib, who journeyed to visit his teacher, Rabbi Eliezer, in Lod during a festival. He told him, Eli, are you not the one who rests on the festivals? You are not the one who rests on the festivals. So meaning we will see maybe it's like a big distance between them. Rabbi Eliezer would say, I praise the lazy ones who do not leave their homes during the festivals, because it is written, and you shall rejoice on the festival. So Rabbi Eliezer said, I praise the lazy ones. So on there is special mitzvah on the festival to be happy. So in person, of course, when he travels, and in olden days, for example, there were no bridges, or not too many bridges, so they would cross the river and streams just walking through. You understand? And all of this, and there were not so many hotels, so people sleep outside in the city squares and stuff like that. Not even because they're poor. Because that's what people used to do in those times, right? So travel on a festival, travel in general was a big burden, right? And so Rabbi Eliezer said, I praise the lazy ones who stay home and enjoy the holiday with their family. This is unacceptable, because Rabbi Yitzchak taught, what is the source of the obligation that a person has to visit the teacher on a festival? It is written, why are you going to him today? It is not the day of rest or a new moon. It does not. It's from the kings. It's from the kings. I think it's the story of Eliyahu. Was it Eliyahu or Elisha? It's. I think it's a story of Eliyahu. Maybe it's Elisha. I don't remember. No, it's Elisha. Elisha, because he has the son on Gehazi. I think that's the story. And he blessed a woman, and she had a child. I think that's the story that they're talking about. And after some time, I'm not sure, he was 3, 4, 5 years old. So he actually died. And she said, I'm going to go to this prophet, Elisha, and bring him back and let him revive the child, basically. And she went to the field, or she went to the field, and say to her husband, give me a donkey, give me, I think, a servant to lead me. And then he asked, well, what are you going to this prophet? Today is not new moon and not a festival. So that's actually the source. How do we know to visit the the prophets and teachers on new moon and the festivals? This is not a difficulty. The latter reference applies when he can go back and forth in one day. So that's the solution. So if you can go back and forth, I don't know, like you live in the same city, of course you cannot drive on Yom Tov. But if he's not too far, maybe, I don't know, maybe half an hour walk, one hour walk, let's say, even each way. So in this case, yeah, you would be allowed, but more, it's disrespect to the holiday. The Rambam interprets Rabbi Yitzchak's statement simply because in a number of the other instances, in Sukkot 10b 26a, the Talmud relates how the student would visit their teachers on festivals. So another thing is to go like before the festivals, right? Before the festivals and stay with the teacher for the festivals. But I would say if it's somebody is single, not married, okay, let them do that. But other people like took this too hard. Some people take some mitzvahs like very, very seriously, and they would leave their families, right? Even today, these people leave their families behind and go to celebrate holidays somewhere else. Okay, so your wife and children, they need father to make kiddush for them, to tell them the laws about the holidays, but they go and have fun. The Nadab Yehuda Orach Chaim, Volume 2, Response on 94, notes that this law is not quoted in the Tur and Shulchan Aruch, meaning the visit of the teacher. Therefore, he explained that it applies only in the time of the temple. In a contrast, at present, since the temple is destroyed, the festival pilgrimage are no longer made. It is improper to make special visits to one's teacher. So maybe the way I understand what he's trying to say, that in olden days, maybe if it's on your way or it's not too far of deviation from your way, so if you visit the teacher, that's one thing. So if you go into Yerushalayim anyway, maybe on the way back or on the way there, so you stop by your teacher, that's one thing. But to go to him specifically, especially it takes very long time, that's not appropriate. Doing so would simply that one is showing the greater deference than shown to divine presence. Okay. So continue. So meaning that he respects his rabbi, his teacher, more than he respects divine presence. And you see that's the problem in some cults. They actually pray to Rabbi instead of praying to God, right? And ask him to intervene. Continue. This view is not accepted by many commentators. Indeed, the Talmudic references to visiting one's teacher during the festival cited above took place in a period after destruction of the temple. Based on the statement quoted in Halachah 1, your fear for your teacher should be equivalent to the fear of heaven, right? As we said, how much or what should be a relationship between a student and the teacher. So they must fear teacher as they fear heaven. So if they do not fear, as we explained above, just to remind, it's a useless relationships. As Rabbi Reuven Shlita many times said, they're not going to listen. So what is the point? He always say, and that's I always try to do that. So I mean, people would not listen anyway, so they just wasting your time, and they wasting their own time. So go. So I always advise this person, go to the one that who you're going to listen. So if you're going to take my answer that is Torah based, especially for you as a just advice, so go to somebody else, right? Kenyatin Eliyahu explained that this is a parallel between the visit of one's teacher and the pilgrimage to the temple, right? No problem. So very interesting how he put everything together. So it says how much you have to fear your teacher as you fear God, basically, right? So Kinyat Eliyahu, I'm not sure who wrote this, I'm not sure, explained that it is a parallel between the visit one's teacher and pilgrimage on festival. Okay, so you have to fear your teacher as you fear heaven. So you go and visit your teacher. Very interesting. But it's not the Halachah. 74. Okay. So finish next Halachah. Number 8. Deference should be shown to a student while in the presence of the teacher. To a student, right? Okay. Unless it is customary for a teacher also to show him deference. Okay. I apologize. Deference should not be shown. Maybe I'm not sure how I said it. Deference should not be shown to a student while in the presence of his teacher, unless it is customary for a teacher also to show him deference. Okay. All of the services which a servant performs for his master should be performed by a teacher for his teacher. However, performed by a student for his teacher. Sorry. However, if the student was in a place but he was not recognized, and was not wearing tefillin, should the student suspect that people will say that he is a servant, he did not put on his teacher's shoe and remove it. Whoever prevents the students from serving him, withholding kindness from him, and takes away the fear of heaven. Any student who deals lightly with a matter related to the honor of his teacher causes divine presence to depart from Israel. So as you see, it's a very, very important halakha. So we start from the beginning and we're going to explain. Deference should not be shown to a student while in presence of his teacher. 75. Honoring a student in the presence of his teacher may be interpreted to be as affront to the latter's position. Meaning, we're talking the way I understand the third party. So he praises his student and shows him a lot of honor. While in the presence of the teacher, so not proper, unless it is customary for a teacher also to show him deference. So what does it mean? Since the teacher himself showed the student deference, he will not be upset by others doing so. Rashi to Baba Basra. Okay, no problem. So if it's normal, if it's in that environment for a teacher to show respect to the student, so other can show respect to the student. There is no problem. Okay, I guess especially like into today's when a student himself became somebody great, big Talmud scholar. So and if teacher show him respect, so it's normal for other people also to show the student respect. All the services which a servant performs for his master should be performed by a student for his teacher. So we have to serve our teachers, as we said, that he is the one who brings us to Olam Haba. No more, no less. Right? So what servant, when they say servants, is actually slaves. Whatever slaves do, you obligate. We obligated to do to our teachers. However, if the student was in a place where he was not recognized and was not wearing tefillin, so what does it mean? At the time, it was customary to wear tefillin the entire day. Nevertheless, for some student, this student was not wearing tefillin. So slaves, even though to become a slave, just to remind us, right, they had to convert him, not complete conversion, but semi-conversion to Judaism. So basically, this non-Jewish slaves would be responsible for obligation less than a Jewish woman, basically. Right? So of course they would not be responsible for tefillin. So when somebody is wearing tefillin, meaning what? That he's a free person, free man. So he's not a slave, right? So that's the thing. And in this case, for example, so they're in a place where nobody knows that he's not the slave, this person, this student, and he's not wearing tefillin. So there are many cases where a person is not allowed, let's say, to wear tefillin when he's, let's say, his body is not clean. Okay, without going into details. Okay, should the student suspect that people will say that he's a servant, okay, he need not to put on the teacher's shoes or remove it. So, okay, so commentary. There's a Canaanite servant, so, okay, who is not considered to be full-fledged Jews. His failure to wear tefillin might create such an impression, since tefillin are time-oriented mitzvah and Canaanite slaves are freed from this observance. Okay, as we explained. So basically, one thing that we can infer from here, that Jews and non-Jews, let's say these Canaanite servants, they look, they dressed very similar, right? So that's very interesting. So that's why, since they're similar and the only difference would be tefillin, so people would could have made such a mistake. Very interesting. Okay, so he need not. So in this case, if he could be mistaken for a servant. Okay, so he need not put on his teacher's shoes or remove it. Commentary: he is freed from performance any menial task which might create this impression. Okay, so it's not to disrespect a teacher, but to preserve the honor of the student. Continue. Whoever prevents his students from serving him, withholding kindness from him, and takes away his fear of heaven. Okay. So one more time. Whoever prevents his students from serving him, withholding kindness from him, and takes away the fear of heaven. Okay. Number 80. Okay. So it says in Hilchot Dios 5:1, we actually covered this section. The Rambam writes that the wise man is distinguished not only by his intellectual achievements, but the manner in which his understanding in reflection in everyday behavior. When a student has an opportunity to appreciate not only the intellectual gifts of the teacher, but the totality of his behavior, he becomes aware of how the Torah lifestyle is all-encompassing commitment, affecting every aspect of the daily activity. He leads to complete fear of heaven. This leads to complete fear of heaven. Meaning, learn from a teacher not only not only intellectual knowledge, right, but how this teacher of his, how he's actually living the Torah, how he implements this knowledge wherever he teaches. And sometimes a person, it's not his subject, he is not teaching some details that he is practicing. It was not the topic of the class, right? So the more the student, like if he get close to this teacher and he serves him, so he can learn a lot. As it says, a Torah lifestyle is all-encompassing commitment, not only whatever we learn in some separate classes, right? This leads to complete fear of heaven. Okay, so it's no longer like theoretical; it's practical. Any student who deals, meaning, and when this teacher, so let's explain this first. So when the teacher prevent student from serving him, so he will hold the kindness. So meaning that watching his teacher, being in his company, right? So this person would get fear of heaven, right? And he would get the understanding how to behave in life, right? And not to give him the opportunity is to withhold kindness. Okay, so it's not like it should not be viewed as like disrespect or something like to the student when he has to do like all the menial jobs, but actually for the opportunity to be as close to the teacher as possible. Any student who deals lightly with this matter are related to honor of his teacher causes divine presence to depart from Israel. No more, no less. He read the books, I read the books, I can buy the same books, I can be as smart as him, maybe I have a better speaking abilities and stuff like that, yeah. So when he talks about his teacher like that, he causes the divine presence to depart from Israel. Now, not only from him, but from the whole Israel, which is a scary thing. Commentary. In Brachas 27b makes this statement regarding the one who prays behind his teacher or who greets his teacher in a casual manner. He say, hey, and he would call him by his rabbi by the first name. So some clowns actually do that. I mean, Rabbi, so he said, yeah, just call me Steve or call me Robert, right? That's it, right? Okay. The Rambam extrapolates that this concept is also applied regarding other acts disrespect to one's teacher. So call him by the first name. Of course, you can call by the first name if you say Rabbi Yitzchak, right, or Rabbi Avraham, right? There is no problem. So you don't have to call by the last name. That's actually proper. Okay. Any questions on what we said into these two halachas? Okay. Next one is very interesting. Number 9. A student who saw his teacher transgresses the words of the Torah should tell him, Master, you have taught me such and such. So here we are taught how to rebuke your teacher, or not to rebuke. Like if he maybe he misspoke, maybe you did not understand his actions. So ask him, right, politely. So here's how you ask person politely. Whenever a student mentions a teacher in his teacher's presence, he should tell him, "You have taught us the following master." Okay, the following master. Okay, so and meaning you taught us like this, but you behave like this. So please explain. He should not mention the concept which he did not hear from his teacher unless he mentioned the name of the person who authored it. So very important. So you have to know your sources, or at least from whom you heard it. Right? Maybe a person who was teaching gave you the source. So you did not remember the source, but you remember the concept. So you said, I heard from Rabbi such and such, this and this idea. There is no problem. But, okay, continue. When his teacher dies, he should rend his garment until he reveals his heart. Right, so all the garments on the left side. He should never mend them. When does the above apply? To one outstanding teacher from whom he has gained the majority of his wisdom. So that's a very important point. So majority of the wisdom. However, a person who has not gained the majority of his wisdom under teacher's instruction is considered to be both students and a colleague. So that's already we see the level. It's a different level. Student and a colleague. He is not obligated to honor him in all the above matters. Okay. Nevertheless, he should stand before him, rend his garment at his death, as he does for all of the deceased for whom he is obligated to mourn. So, when somebody big in our nations dies, so we have to mourn, like somebody very close to us mourn, like one of the 7 relatives. Okay. Even if he learned only one thing from him, whether it be small or great matter, he should stand before him and rend garments at his death. Okay, so a lot of information. All right, so let's start from the beginning, and we're going to explain. A student who he saw his teachers transgress the words of the Torah should tell him, Master, you have taught us such and such. So meaning very, very gently, maybe you would be surprised. Maybe you misunderstood. Maybe you did not what this teacher was doing. Maybe you misunderstood the Halachah. Maybe you do not know all of the details about the case, what happened before, why he's doing. Maybe it's exception. Maybe he's under duress. Or you never know. So commentaries say Kiddushin 32a makes a similar statement regarding situation when one saw one's father transgress the Torah law. The Rambam infers that a similar concept applies regarding one's teacher, in case of Mishnah. So we said in the previous class, actually, right, that there are many parallels how a person should respect his father and his teacher. And as we said last time, so in some cases when the father for sure is not Torah scholar, so he has to actually the preference precedence is actually comes on the teacher, right? So you have to save the teacher first, redeem him from captives, and help him with a burden if he's carrying the burden, stuff like that, and return his lost object to him. Okay. Why? And we said because your father brought you into this world, and teacher brought you to the world to come. Continue. Others point to Brachas 16a and b, which quotes Rabban Gamliel's students as reapproaching him in such a manner after carrying out a number of deeds which appear contradict his teaching. So as we said before, don't remember a long time ago. I mean, in this class, we said sometimes. So students cannot ask a teacher a question on a different subject. I mean, during the class, right? It's one of the things is inappropriate. But a teacher can change the subject, and which said what is the explanation, right? To sharpen the student's mind, right? And he would confuse them, so they would ask a question. So right, so it's which is not to allow them to fall asleep, right? That's a good tactics. Continue. Whenever a student mentions teaching in a teacher's presence, he should tell him, you taught us the following master. Commentary, the Sanhedrin 99b 101a states, who is Apikoris? So Apikoris is a non-believer. So it's actually, I mean, it says unbeliever, but it's actually most stronger. Okay. It's very bad to be Apikoris. Who is Apikoris? A person who relates a concept from another source that occurred to him while he was sitting before his teacher and states, what is that said there, rather than this is what you taught us, master. So let us read one more time. It's very interesting. So Talmud says, who is Apikoris, non-believer? A person who relates a concept from another source that occurred to him while he was sitting before his teacher, and state, this is what it says there. So from nowhere, right? Rather than this is what you taught us. So it's in some sense it's some kind of disrespect. Similarly, Moed Katan 7b relates that once Rabbi here mentioned a teaching before his teacher, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, and prefaced his statement with expression, you have taught us the following master, right? And then he gives the whole sentence. From that passage, it appears that Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi did not actually make that statement. Rabbi here remarks were merely polite token of respect. Okay, so I'm not sure what should we learn from this, because on one hand is a token of respect, on another hand it's not true. So if this teacher never told you this, so why is you quoting in his name? I'm not sure. Continue. He should not. Okay, let me start from the beginning. So it says, whenever a student mentions a teaching of his teacher's presence, he should tell him, you have taught us the following master. Before that we said when you see the teacher acting inappropriately, you have to ask him why, like you told us. Otherwise, please explain. So don't attack him. Ask for explanation. So here we say mention that some things that was taught before, and you wanted to clarify things. He should not mention a concept which he did not hear from his teacher, unless he mentioned the name of the person who authors it. So people say, I heard it somewhere from internet. Okay, it's heard from internet. Okay. So that's exactly what they refer to. So people say, I heard that one rabbi said on YouTube. Right? That's very interesting. So it says, in general, there is an obligation to mention the concept in the name of the author. It says in Megillah 15a. However, in this instance, there is particular obligation to do so, lest it be assumed that the teaching was authored by one's teacher. So it's very interesting. So, I mean, without this explanation, it would be hard to comprehend what it says there. So the explanation said that why, if it was taught by a teacher, so you have to say, teacher, as you told us this and that, I just want to ask additional question. Okay, no problem. Then he continues, said, if he wants to mention something that was not taught by a teacher, so he said he has to say, I heard from such and such a rabbi, I heard from the student of such and such rabbi that in his lecture yesterday he said such and such. Okay, there is no problem. The problem is if this student would continue, right, would not mention whom he heard from. Why? What is the problem? Because it was assumed by default all of his knowledge came from this teacher, from the primary teacher, which is not true in this case. He actually heard from somewhere else. It's very interesting. And maybe whatever he said, it's not exactly correct, and other people would think that his teacher told him something that is not correct. The Yerushalayim Talmud, Brachas 13:1, mentioned the following incident. Rabbi Yochanan was walking, supported by Rabbi Yaakov bar Idi. Rabbi Yochanan complained to him that his students, Rabbi Elazar, never made a statement in his name. Right? It's very interesting, right? So I told him so much, and he never mentioned me as the source of his teaching. Very interesting. Rabbi Yaakov told him that there was a precedent to such a behavior. It was a precedent to such behavior. Rabbi Meir would quote teaching in the name of Rabbi Ishmael, but would not quote teaching in the name of Rabbi Akiva, his teacher. So why is that, right? His primary teacher was Rabbi Akiva, but he would quote something from Rabbi Ishmael and never mention of Rabbi Akiva. So what is the answer? So it's very interesting. I remember learning it. Very interesting. Rabbi Yochanan answered that there was nothing wrong about that because everyone knew that Rabbi Meir was Rabbi Akiva's disciple, and most of his teaching came from him. Meaning, if he does not mention the source, it came from Rabbi Akiva. If he does mention a source, for example, Rabbi Shmuel, so this specific teaching did not come from Rabbi Akiva, but rest of what I said came from Rabbi Akiva. So it's not the disrespect. It's actually by default. Where else do you think my knowledge came from? Okay, it's very interesting. Okay. Rabbi Yochanan, one second. Rabbi Yaakov explained that the same concept applies to the instance in hand. Everyone knows that Rabbi Elazar is your disciple, and most of his teaching are yours. So there is no reason to mention your name basically every time. Thus, were a student to mention a concept without mentioning its source, it would be likely for the listener to assume that it was authored by his teacher. So that's if it's not true or not precise, So it could be like people would think that this teacher taught him this not correct, something that is not correct. If in fact it was authored by someone other than his teacher, right? Other than the teacher, and his teacher would not have approved it, creating such an impression would not be respectful to his teacher. So you want to say somebody else's name, saying somebody else's name, right? But maybe your teacher did not approve it. It's very interesting. So 84. So continue. When his teacher dies, he should rend his garment until he reveals his heart. Commentary 85. With regard to the rending garments, until one's heart is revealed, see Hilchot veil 83, Moed Katan 2020. Okay, so that's when somebody dies, that's what we do. We rend our garments. 85. Now, he should never mend them. Commentary, Moed Katan 26a equates garments torn over one's teacher passing with those torn over a father's passing. So it doesn't matter. I mean, father or mother. With regard to the latter's law. On this basis, Rambam concludes that the same principle applies regarding the extent to one rents to his garments. Right, so he rents his garments for his father, and Rambam derives from this, needless to say, for his teacher, and never he can fix the garments. I mean, today is, I guess, people just throw out this short, but in olden days they would actually fix the garment. Like, I mean, if something rips, they would like fix it. Okay, the Gemara draws this comparison from Elisha's behavior at the death of Eliyahu, his teacher. Kings 2:12 relates, he cried out, Father, Father, chariot of Israel. He took hold of the clothing and rent them into two. Hilchot Avel 9:5. So, of course, the Elisha was not the son of Eliyahu. He was not. Right, but he had, since he was his teacher, right, Eliyahu Hanovi was a teacher of Elisha, so he called him Father, and he rent his garments. Okay. At present, it's very uncommon to see students rent the garments for the teacher's passing. I'm not sure why he's saying that. Among the rationalization for the present custom, the opinion of Hagachot Maimonid and Lechem Mishneh mentioned above, at present we derive most of our knowledge from the books. According to concept Rav Muvak, does not apply, meaning the primary teacher. I think still apply, okay. No problem. All right. 86. So 1 second. Okay, so continue. When does the above apply? So meaning the rendering of the garments. As mentioned above, the commentaries interpret this to be a reference to all tokens of reverence and respect mentioned in the previous halachah, right? To when the above apply, to standing, to all of these things, right? To one's outstanding teacher, from whom one gained the majority of the wisdom. So as we said, many times it's person would get majority of the wisdom from the books, or from maybe even several teachers, which is not recommended, but possible. I mean, usually a person should not listen more than two teachers, two rabbis, right? So one would be like for Halachah, let's say, or one for Ashkafa, Jewish ideology. That's because one specializes on this, another specializes on that. But otherwise, you're going to get mixed up and would not advance, guaranteed. However, a person who has not gained the majority of his wisdom under the teacher's instruction is considered to be both students and a colleague. So now we're going to level down. So if he got some wisdom from this from this rabbi, but some from the books, so he's considered his teacher and a colleague. Of the latter meaning of this teacher. Rashi in Eruvin 63a defines the term a student and a colleague, as a sage of equivalent stature who has learned some concept from his teacher. So as if we go in Barashi, so it's not the case. So this rabbi most likely, okay, maybe you did not gain all of the knowledge from him, but for sure we are not on his level. It's very interesting. So we go Barashi. Unfortunately, it's only in small print and commentary. So sometimes it gets to the people's head that they watch a few videos, they finish few books, and they think that they know things, and they start talking to rabbi like they on their friends or brothers or colleagues. Okay. He is not obligated to honor him in all the above matters. So, I mean, we're not talking disrespect, but take off his shoes and stuff like that, he's not obligated. Right? Nevertheless, he should stand before him, rend his garments at his death, as he does for the deceased from whom he is obligated to mourn. Okay, so nevertheless, commentary, he should show some sign of respect. Right? He should stand before him, 90, when he comes within the 4 cubits of him. Okay, so we're not saying from the point that he saw him, even 2 miles away, let's say a mile away, half a mile away, right? But only when he comes in the 4 cubits, approximately 7 to 8 feet, right? And rend his garments in his presence, at his death. I'm sorry, at his death. Commentary Baba Mitzvah 33a praises students of Babylonia who showed great token of respect to each other. Right. As he does for all of the deceased for whom he is obligated to mourn. So there are seven relatives that we must do that. So let's see what is the commentary. There is one's brother, sister, spouse, son, daughter, and parents. Many commentaries note that apparent contradiction between this halacha, which implies that it is sufficient to rend one's garment a handbreadth, right? Handbreadth, like 3.5 inches, 4 inches, plus minus, right? Handbreadth in Hilchot Avil 9:11, which teaches that one is obligated to rend the garments over the passing of a sage, even if he is not the one outstanding teacher, until one reveals his heart. So, which is okay, much more, and maybe all of the garments. So it's not so if person has a jacket and let's say and short and this and that, so he would have to like tear all of the garments. Okay, it's not so easy. Reveal his heart. The case of Mishnah writes that the law still applies only to a sage accepted as a city halachic authority, while the present halacha refers to only the personage of the lesser stature. Okay. The Lechem Mishnah writes that the law of Hilchot Avil is incumbent on a common people, while a person who is himself Torah scholar is not obligated to make such a large gesture of a mourning. Okay, so but for a big rabbi, that's what we're going to do. Well, not going to, but that's what we have done for when Rabbi Eliashiv passed away, when Rav Wozner passed away, Rav Ovadia. So for all of these great rabbis, that's what we do. Even just so you know, so it does not have to be new short. It could be the short with which was ripped before, so you can do next another one. Okay. Even if he learned today even if he learned only one thing from him, whether it's small or greater matter, he should stand before him and rend his garment at his death. So comment Pirkei Avos 6.3 states, a person who learns from a colleague a single chapter, a single law, a single verse, a single letter must show him respect. So that would be a colleague, right? Somebody taught you like a Halachah, how brush your teeth on Shabbos, so have to show that person respect. So we find concerning David, king of Israel, David HaMelech, he learned from Ahithophel only two things. Yet he called him his teacher, his guide, and his mentor. So he's Ahithophel, the lowest of the lowest. He tried to kill David and take over his kingdom, right? But David learned from him a few things, and he gave him this great respect. Okay, so he should stand before him, right? Even if you learn only one thing, and rent his garments at his death. 94 commentary. Baba Metzira 33a relates that the sage Shmuel rent his garment at the passing of the student from whom he learned one concept. Okay, so we finish. Let me check time 1 second. Any questions on what we said so far? Okay, so if not, we can do a few more halachas. They're very short. Very short. I think it's like end of the chapter. Yeah. So it says, halacha number 10. Every student with a proper character will not speak in front of anyone who is wiser than he is, even though he has not learned anything from him. It's a very deep halacha, so let's try to explain. Every student with a proper character, what does it mean? Whose intellect and emotions are well trained. Rambam commentary to Mishnah, Avos 5:6. So meaning he can hold himself back, right? Intellect and emotions. Some people that jump into conversation and start answering the question even though they did not hear the question, right? So one more time, every student with a proper character will not speak in front of anyone who is wiser than he is. Commentary. So in Pirkei Avos states, there are 7 traits that characterize an undeveloped person and 7 that characterize a wise man. A wise man does not speak in the presence of anyone who is wiser than he. So let somebody is wiser, so let him speak. Let me be quiet. Continue. Even though he has not learned anything from him. Right? So I know that he is wiser than me. Let him talk. I'm going to listen. Number 7. This is Rambam's own edition. Very interesting. Even if he did not learn anything from him. I mean, but I know that this person is a great scholar. I did not learn. I just heard from other people. I did not learn anything from him. Does not change the reality. Okay. Continue. 11. An outstanding teacher may, if desires, forgo his honor with regard to any or all of the above matters, to any or all of his students. Even though he forgoes these honors, the student is obligated to respect him at the time he forgoes respect. Okay, so let's try to understand what it says here. So one more time. An outstanding teacher may, if he desires, forgo his honor. So meaning he said you're not obligated to stand. Well, I'm coming in, let's say in yeshiva, they sit around and learn. So he said it's disrespect to the Torah. Just continue learning. I just passing by. I have to talk to this person. That's it. Please sit down. Okay. So there is no problem. He has this right, and it's proper. So it says Kiddushin 32a relates a difference of the opinion between the sages concerning this matter. Rav Hizda maintains that the teacher is not entitled to forego his honor, because this honor is not due to him personally, but due to the Torah. So that's a very important concept. So we don't respect this teacher just because he's because of some outstanding qualities. No, we respect this teacher because of his Torah knowledge. That's so right. So in some sense, what is it? Rav Hizda said. So he cannot forgo his respect. Respect is not for him personally as a person. Respect is the Torah knowledge. Okay, he's a container of the Torah knowledge, but the respect is to him, not to the vessel itself. So the vessel cannot forgo the honor. It's very interesting. Rav Yosef maintains that once he has mastered the subject matter he studies, it is considered of his own. So if he remembers everything by heart and he masters all of these details in such a subject, it's like becomes his own. He's one with the Torah knowledge. Okay. Hence, he's entitled to forgo the honor due to him because of it. So it's very like polar opposite concept, but meaning one said it's not yours, you're not you cannot forgo, and say no. In second opinion, Rav Yosef said no, it's actually yours. You became one with it, so you can forgo the honor because it's yours. So it was due to him 98. Continue. Actually, from the beginning, the outstanding teacher may, if he desires, forgo his honor with regard to all or any above matters to any or all of his students. So it's very interesting. So he can select some students, right? Some close students to him. He can relax some requirements. So it says Kiddushin Torah 3b relates that Rava and Rav Papa relax certain formalities and serve their students at weddings. Right? So maybe a student is getting married, so he would serve him, I don't know, pour him wine or whatever. Very interesting. So let's see. So to all or any of his students coming to him, he may restrict this leniency only to small number of students, or extend them to all as he desires. Maybe some close students or something. A note to chapter 7, Halachah 13, which does not allow the sage to forgo his honor after the public display of disrespect over him. So one more time. Which does one second, not chapter 7, Halachah 13, so we didn't get to it, which does not allow the sage to forgo his honor after public display of disrespect over him. So if they disrespect him publicly, that's it. So all of these leniencies are cancelled. So it's we have to restore the honor due to the Torah. So one more time the whole sentence. And even though he forgoes these honors, the student is obligated to respect him. Right? That's the obligation. He must stand in front of him, right, and refrain from sitting in his place, and the like. The student's failure to do so would be considered an act of disrespect for the Torah. No more, no less. Right? So the whole sentence, even though he forgoes these honors, the student is obligated to respect him at the time he forgoes respect. So the rabbi said, no, you don't have to stand. So you have to stand anyway. So let him tell you one more time not to stand. Our translation based on Avodah HaMelech, that text notes that apparent redundancy in Rambam's statement and explains that even if the teacher is willing to forgo these minimal tokens of respect, the student is obligated to grant them to him, because it is improper for such respect not to be shown for the Torah. So again, we not show this respect to this teacher as an individual, but actually we show as respect to the Torah that he possesses. Okay, so we can stop here, I guess. Any questions on what we said or on any topic? Go ahead. Almost done with this chapter. Okay. Any questions? Okay, so no problem. So we stop here. So tomorrow we continue with our Halachos or Brachos. Okay. Till tomorrow. Good night.